if you are just watching, coming across my program for the first time, I will encourage you to please click on the subscribe button and then click also on the notification button. And if you enjoy what you watch, share it and let it go as wide as possible, because it will save so many lives and bless so many. The reason I'm talking this way is that I want to encourage the leaders of the Middle Belt of Nigeria, of the Igbo nation, and the Yoruba and the Oduduwa nations to pull together. They need to pull together against what is to come. Because if you don't pull together, they will divide you and rule you and slaughter most of you. You know what? This government is a wicked and evil government. You know, in the past, before the internet, it is possible to kill thousands of people and then nobody knows what to go. Nobody will see the videos anywhere and can get away with it. Assad's father in Syria, he killed over 23,000 people. Nothing happened to him. It's only today with the internet we're coming to hear about it. So, because of the internet, the social media, we have cameras everywhere. And what this government is planning, this Buhari government is planning, they're planning a genocide, but because of the social media, it's making it difficult for them to do it. So that is the reason why they were looking for any excuse they can to block social media into Nigeria. So Twitter fell into that trap, they blocked Twitter. But the reality is that they want to block everybody, Facebook, everything, so that when they carry out the genocide, there won't be a lot of materials going out to the whole world to show what they are doing. They are evil to the core. And the sad thing is that Buhari, the man is evil. He's even worse than Abacha. You know why? Very smart. He puts the Southerners in positions where there will be the Minister for Information to announce foolishness, someone that just some petty position posts to deal with their own people who are agitating. But yet, military, the economy, and every other bit, he put them in the hands of his own people. That is evil to the core. And unfortunately, I know some of the Southerners, when I say Southerners, from Middle Belt down, they have to play along with him, because some of them they need to eat food, they need money, and it's very sad. The thing is, we're in a grave situation. And I'm sharing this because I believe the Yorubas and the Igbos need to pull together. If you don't pull together, you're going to be in deep trouble, because they have divided and ruled us for so many years, and we're arguing amongst themselves. Oh, the Yorubas sold us. Oh, the Igbos are this and that. And it's the strategy of the enemy to keep us apart so they can dominate and control us. But you have to leave those petty things aside and pull together. I'm going to show you a video now, and when I come back, we'll talk a bit more. Here it is.
Dedogun has a book, Fatherless People, and there is a small account in it of Zeke returning from America in 1933 with very highly blown ideas of Pan-Africanism, the black man in the world, and so on and so forth. Well, he was vulnerable. He was a poor person, and he wasn't getting the kind of help that he desired. He had applied for jobs to many organizations and many agencies back home in Nigeria, and none of them had given him a job. And he arrived in London on his way back home, and that vulnerability put him in the hands of the colonial authorities. Basically, what happened, the British respected the Yoruba, but they didn't particularly like the kind of black man that the Yoruba were. They didn't like it, because by the time they came, the Yoruba were already fairly highly educated. They had been producing graduates from the last years of the 1850s. And by the time that the British began to come into Yoruba land in the 1880s, 1890s, there were already very many Yoruba graduates in very many areas of life. And when the British finally became the rulers of Nigeria, I'm jumping over a whole lot of things. They didn't fancy the Yoruba at all. They might be friends with the individual Yoruba people, because the educated people for them to be friends with were mostly Yoruba. But they feared that the Yoruba were going to make the profits of colonialism difficult to achieve in Nigeria. So the British didn't particularly like the Yoruba, and thought that they needed to subdue the interests of the influence of the Yoruba people in Nigeria. And according to the account in the book that I have quoted, A Fatherless People, Marjorie Peram, who was a scholar of the colonial establishment, got hold of Nnamdi Azikiwe, took him to meetings with British colonial officials from Nigeria who were at the time in London, and finally arranged a meeting between him and a team of people from the colonial office. And what seemed to have happened in those meetings is that the British wanted to construct the Igbo and the Yoruba as enemies of one another, so that they would not be able to collaborate, because these are the two most powerful people in Nigeria. If the Yoruba and Igbo collaborated, the British thought that that would be the end of all the benefits from their colonial endeavor in Nigeria. And so Azikiwe arrived in Nigeria, the man who had left London with very high-sounding ideas of the black race, the black man, and so on, Pan-Africanism, and etc., arrived in Nigeria not so much dedicated to those ideals anymore, and so on. But as I said, we, the Yoruba and the Igbo, we allowed ourselves to be pitted against each other. I don't want to tell the story. The story I want to tell is the story of change and the future. We are now at a point in the history of the Yoruba and the Igbo nations when a substantial number of the Igbo and Yoruba people now recognize the following things. One, that because we had chosen to allow ourselves to be used against each other, the Yoruba nation and the Igbo nation allowed themselves to be used against each other in Nigeria, both have now ended up in a position that is only better than slavery in Nigeria. They have lost everything. And now they're just fumbling around in the hands of people who are dedicated to an idea that they must own Nigeria, they must rule Nigeria, they must control Nigeria. And they must make sure that the other peoples of Nigeria do not control their own destiny. That's what Ahmadu Bello said 11 days after independence in 1960, on October 12. The South we treat as conquered territory. We must treat the South as conquered territory and not let them ever rule over us and never let them control their own future. I had participated in discussions around Chief Awolowo as one of the young intellectuals from Ife, in which we had very definitively decided that the road forward for either the Yoruba or the Igbo is that the two of them must learn to work together. But nothing had come out of those discussions. In 1984, May, after I was released from detention by the military ruler Buhari, Chief Awolowo invited me to Kenya, and we spent a whole day together at his house. And I want you to listen to this, let everybody listen to this, because it's a story that I need to be telling, to be standing on rooftops in Igbo land and Yoruba land and be shouting. We spend the whole day, Chief Awolowo, usually when we meet, it's about Nigeria, and we spend the whole day talking about the prospects, the difficulties, the plan, and so on and so forth for Nigeria. And then it was time for us to go to dinner about 4:35. And as we stood and went towards the dining table, Chief Awolowo stopped me and held my hand and said, Banji, there is something more I should not forget to tell you. So I stopped and looked at him, and he said, Banji, we Yoruba must find a way to work with Igbo. I said, you and Igbo will work together. It's not a question of must now. You and Igbo, he was now talking as if he was prophesying. He had started by saying you and Igbo must work together. But then he upgraded his talk to something like a prophecy. You and Igbo will work together. It is the only way you can be free in the world. It is the only way we can be free in the world. It is the only way we can really achieve what we deserve in the world. You and Igbo will work together. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm quoting him as much as I can remember. I am not saying it is going to be easy, but I am saying it will be done.
Welcome back. As you can see from the video, you saw that even Awolowo on his way out released the prophetic message that the Igbos and the Yorubas will work together. He said they will, not that they have to. They will. Because if you don't, you are in trouble. They will. Because the old man has seen far ahead. He has seen the agenda of the Fulani houses. And guess what? The Fulani houses are emboldened because the British are behind them. The British are behind the scene, pulling the strings. They're pulling the strings. And that's why in this situation, we don't need Western power to come and sit at any meeting with us. We are mature and sensible enough to sit around the round table and discuss the issue of Nigeria. We don't need America. We don't need Europe. Because when those guys come, they're going to tweak things to favor their own position, not your position. So you'll be stepping into another trap. Let's sit down, iron things down, and iron things and agree on which way to go and how to settle things. That's the best way out. Because as I speak, in the archives of the British, there are documents that's been kept confidential. They were supposed to be released under Prime Minister Tony Blair. But Tony Blair saw that they were damaging to what the British did in Nigeria. They reclassified those documents. They reclassified them. Those documents are there. Really, but some people have been able to get information out of it. How they rigged the election in Nigeria in favor of the North. I grew up in the North. The North was scanty. It's plenty of land, few people, and a lot of animals. So now tell us that the population of the North is equal to the South or more than the South is a lie. They kept that lie going with the hope that they can reproduce in the North and at the end of the day to prove that it was correct. It's a lie. That's why they ended up with so many Almajiris roaming the street, producing children every day and no one to cater for them. But you know what? God is a God of compassion. He has heard the cry of his people from the Middle Belt down south. And God is about to do something spectacular. And it will shock many. Because God will settle this matter once and for all. Don't be afraid. All we need to do is keep praying. Because the prophecy that's come is that the Igbo land, the Yoruba land, the Middle Beltans will leave Nigeria. Let the Fulani houses go and join up with the ones in Niger and create their own railway track within their country and get on with it. That's where we are right now. And you have to stop Buhari from borrowing money from the Chinese on our behalf, because we're not going to pay. We have our own, we're going to look after our own interests from now on. So you know what? Click that button to share and spread it as far as possible. God bless you till we meet again.